Oh, I should totally be taking attendance right now. Haley's here, Graham's here, John's here, Lewis is here. Mason, Lindahl, Fortune. For whatever reason, I'm remembering all of your names so much better than I'm remembering the names of my other class. I have no idea what's happening. If you're in the stream, say your name. Good morning. We have a tendency in this class to get a bunch of late arrivals, so I'll wait just another minute. Hello, people in the stream. Good morning. Thank you for dropping your names. That helps me. Does anybody need an extra notebook so far? Sick. All right, a bunch of people who are consistently present are not present right now. So I have a feeling they're just going to show up if I start. So we're going to wait like 2 more minutes. What's up? All right, I think we're going to go for it. Good morning. Welcome to Friday. I hope your first full week back at RIT has not been too terrible or too strange, though. How could it not be too strange right now? Are there any questions or concerns for me before I jump into my fucking monologue? We doing good? Cool. All right, I've got attendance. Looks like people are doing that. I'm doing the stream nicely. All right. So I'm going to start with a reading. This is from a book called The Crown Ain't Worth Much. It's by Hanif Abdurraqib, poet from Columbus, Ohio. And this poem is called, Okay, I'm finally ready to say I'm sorry for that one summer. And the first line kind of is a continuation of the title. You'll see what I mean. Double checking the stream for the last time. Sick. Okay, I'm finally ready to say I'm sorry for that one summer when I watched American Pie 2 twice a week and listened to all 9 minutes of Constantine on the way to every party with the sun still out in a car thick with sober voices spilling out of the windows and making another mess all over the sidewalks. I guess this is what it looks like when youth is writhing on its deathbed, but the boys who claim it are still very much alive and blooming and being split in half by a beam of moonlight stumbling in through a window and falling all over the sheets in a bed that is not ours. In the heat of that summer, I escaped the parties on Friday nights to find the near silent bedroom of a girl who I pretended to stop talking to when my friends said we're college boys now, but who I used to shoot hoops with in the backyard and skipped out on prom to go record shopping with last spring. And that summer, we would sit on our floor and let the Supremes record play all the way through twice and tell each other stories of how our college roommates snored all year and how we didn't sleep like we used to under the city's moon and how we never got used to eating alone and how we instead got used to hunger and how small we'd become because of all these things. And then we would lay with each other without ever touching. And I didn't know how to talk about distance out loud. And in the mornings over breakfast with the guys, when Jeff would yell, "So how was it last night?" across the table, and I knew what it carried even then, and I still smiled into a brown tornado of coffee until the plates rattled with fists pounding and laughter and high fives. And isn't it funny how silence can undress two bodies and press them into each other? And when I say funny, I mean the feeling that stretches itself out in your stomach when you watch someone cry into their palms and turn their face to the night before they walk away for what you know was the last time, before there was a new, sharp, and boundless city between the both of you forever. And when fall came, boys sat up in their beds alone and gasping while their hearts rattled out the ghosts of every unspoken love that dragged them there, and then a whole country crawled itself across the ocean and went to war. I love that poem. And I think one of the reasons that I love it is the way that it locates itself. I love a good title that just like tells you what the fuck's going to happen, like what the situation is. I hate titling my own stuff. I agonize over it. It drives me crazy. I never feel like I find a good title. But here we have a narrative like right away. The title is, okay, I'm finally ready to say I'm sorry for that one summer. Like, sick. I know where we are. I know what our situation is. I even know a little bit of the narrative. Something bad happened and now he wants to say sorry, right? And the poem never quite says sorry, but I think that's kind of part of its game, right? And then I love this pivot at the end where, we've been talking about this relationship the whole way through, and then very suddenly at the end, the country drags itself across the ocean and goes to war. And it locates us further in time. It kind of tells me, this is probably like after 9/11 or something, right? But it also does something really interesting to the mood of the poem. Suddenly the whole country's going to war. We've been talking about boyhood. We've been talking about boyhood dying. We've been talking about like the entrance into manhood, right? And then there's war too. And so these things find themselves kind of fitting together in a really nice way. So we've been doing a bunch of work on trying to like tease ideas out through writing and noticing what kinds of ideas are rising when we do. And so today I want to advance this technique by making something kind of similar to this, or inspired by this, I guess. And what I mean by that is we're going to purposefully weave a couple ideas together that are hopefully related to you, for the purposes of just like seeing how they interact. So before I get super started, who just walked in? I want to make sure that I get you on the attendance sheet. Kyle, Matt, you're not Max. Max sits there. What's your name?
Peter.
Peter? Cool. Kyle, Matt, Peter. Peter Behrens?
Yeah.
Sick. Matt Hills. Kyle. Cool. No Max. No Connor. No Shane. No Ian. No, Ian's in the stream. I saw that. All right. So first thing you want to do is take your notebook and lay it open so that you're looking at both pages. And both pages should be blank. We're going to need them both. We're going to do like a version of the word bank exercise that we did. When was that? Wednesday? Wednesday. So first thing, at the top of one of these pages, think back. You're going to write down a season that was important to you. Personally, I kind of want you to try and pick a summer, spring, winter, or fall that was drastically important to you, and just write it at the top of the page. If you want to think a minute on it, that's totally fine. For me, by way of example, like for me, I go to summer 2006 when I ask myself this question, because it was a super important summer for me. A bunch of things changed. I started living at my best friend Danny's house for like most of the summer. I went like many days without going home, and that became okay because I'd gotten just like enough freedom, And it was also the summer when Danny, this guy, my friend, and I started making movies together around his house and like in the backyard. And it was dumb sketch comedy. We were junior hires. But that was a big influence, and we made movies all through high school. And so like it was this time when I was living at someone else's house and we were writing all the time because we were making movies, and like his property, which was very big, it was backed up to a forest, like that became a set, we're like, oh, we could use the barn, we could use the pool, like, so things started to look different too. And so I could go on, and I will, but for right now that you've located yourself in one of these seasons, on one side, so one of the pages is going to be your word bank, right? So sketch just the first couple thoughts as to why this season was important for you. And by sketch, I don't mean draw. I mean like bullet points, right? So you're making quick impressions. So me, I might write movies. I might write The Woods. I might write Halo because I was playing Halo like every day until like 4 a.m. So I'm going to give you like 4 minutes to do this. Just really quick. Why was this season important? Go. Timer, 4 minutes. Just about 2 minutes left. I'll catch you up in just a sec, Max.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No worries. First step is notebook out. All right, so Max, keep your notebook open with the 2 pages. One page is going to be the word bank. The other page is eventually going to be like a piece, kind of like Wednesday. At the word bank side, pick a season that was important to you, a summer, spring, winter, fall of whatever year, and then just start bullet pointing why that summer was important. And you'll have time to kind of catch up as we make a bunch of passes at this. All right. I think this one might take us a little bit longer, so I'm going to do 5 minutes this time. We're going to build out this word bank a little. So you've hopefully sketched some stuff down about like what left an impression on you of that summer, or sorry, it's summer for me, but that time. Now think about sensory details that come to mind when you sit and think about this time. So for me, for example, I'm probably going to put heat. I remember that summer was like brutally hot. I'm going to write grass too, because I remember all the grass died in Danny's backyard, and that's like the image that comes, right? I might even put, if I want to go so far as to put light, I might even put light, because I can remember when I think about it, I think about like the way the light looked in his yard, and light looks different on a dead yard than like a lush yard, right? And so I'm just thinking about like my weird sensory impressions that come first from this time. I could also think about like, he has these border collies that just like bite when you run too fast, and we were always running because we were in junior high, right? These are the kind of sensory impressions that I'm looking for. So just like go digging around, think about the sights, the sounds, and the smells of that time. 5 minutes. And of course, if you're writing sensory impressions and you realize like another thing that was important, why this was important, I mean, write that down too. About a minute left. Okay, sick. All right, so finally, and this one might be the hardest one. We might need our devices for this one. I needed one for this part. But think about the state of the world at this time. Like what was in the news, but also more broadly, what was the mood of the country, of your country during this time? I think more than ever now, we can agree, I hope, that countries have a mood, right? So for me, for example, summer 2006, I just Googled world events. My highest recommendation to you for this, go to the Wikipedia page for your year and then just look up the historical events that were happening. That was all I needed to do. But for me, I might write Iraq protests because the Iraq War was happening. It was the third year of the Iraq War. Americans were protesting it all the time. Saddam Hussein was on trial for war crimes. He was going to get executed in November of this year. So I might write Saddam Hussein. Google bought YouTube during this time as well. And as a kid, I was obsessed with like, I was making all these videos. I was obsessed with like YouTube fame, right? So maybe I could find a way to connect those things. I don't know yet. But I might write Google and YouTube. I might also write about the housing bubble because the housing bubble hadn't broke yet and the financial crisis of 2008 hadn't started yet. But by 2006, there were definitely warning signs that someone should have fucking seen and no one did, right? So with the benefit of hindsight, I can look back at that. And so notice that some of these are events, like Google bought YouTube, right? And then some of them are just kind of placed on the timeline. With the benefit of hindsight, I can look back and go, well, this thing was about to happen. Those things count too. And so since this one might be a little bit tougher, Google. Feel free to Google. And like I said, highly recommend Wikipedia. And if any of these historical events had any kind of like bearing on you specifically, definitely write down how that worked as well. Did you have a question? No, cool. All right, 4 minutes. Let's do it. Got a minute left. Okay. So you now have a word bank, just like on Wednesday. Read it over. Notice what arises in your mind as you start putting these things together. See if you can feel any kind of cohesive mood happening, just like last time, as you consider the details that you've written. Notice if there's anything you want to start with, and notice if there's anything that just feels like it's just not going to fit, right? And unlike Wednesday, I don't think you have to force it in order. If you see a detail that just like makes no sense to you, don't worry about it too much. And I hope it's clear already that we're going to need a looser interpretation of word bank than we did on Wednesday. So instead of forcing yourself to use the word run, you can challenge yourself instead to use like, or whatever word you've written down. Instead, you challenge yourself to use like the concept or the mood that you have put down there, right? You don't need to get exact words down. And I would also say, don't strain too hard to fit all of the political stuff either. In the last class we were doing this, that was definitely the hardest part for some people, was including stuff that was going on in the world, because childhood tends to be, I mean, you kind of hope it's a little apolitical, right? So that can be a little bit harder. So don't fight too hard for those things. Are there any questions before we get going? All right, sick. I want to do this for about 20 minutes, and then we'll come back and talk about it. And just like before, anytime you pick up your hand, anytime you feel yourself pause, skip a line, start the next one, get that white space in there. Just under 5 minutes left. Two and a half minutes. All right, about 30 seconds left. All right, let's talk about it. So for me, so I did this twice now, right? Because I did this earlier in the morning too. And I picked the same summer both times. And the thing that I noticed that was kind of cool for me was I noticed weird connections between stuff that was totally unrelated. Like for me, so this was the year I was obsessed with recording stuff. So like me and my friends, we would just like start up the camera and then like go throw batteries at my friend Claude and we would record it and like just like hope that something was good. And like we were recording kind of obsessively, just like all the time trying to make content, right? And I found this like weird connection to the Patriot Act in that, right? And like mass surveillance of United States citizens. And like, we were always playing war games. We were playing Halo all the time. We were out beating each other up with sticks. Meanwhile, the country was at like an actual war. Some of us ended up joining the military, right? Like these things are feeling weirdly connected to me now as I look back. So I was really happy with the political connection, and that's kind of what I leaned into most. I completely forgot to write about the housing bubble at all. I totally thought the housing bubble was going to be like a big deal, but no, didn't come up once. This is the first time I've remembered it. So how did this go? I'm super curious. What was hard? What was easy? What was interesting? Mace?
No, it was really hard to find any kind of big world event other than just generic political unrest. Every time.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't really easy to weave that in other than like the story itself or the time itself was a time of unrest for me. So it was not quite like connected to it, like you had the housing bubble and all that stuff, but if you stretched it, you could kind of see it.
Is it like a so you're saying there was more of like a similarity in mood?
Yeah, I think that's one similarity I could really find.
Uh-huh. That can be more than good enough sometimes. Right on, thank you. John?
I found my mood during, so I wrote about this past summer,
Mm-hmm.
and the mood of it was very centralized at the beginning, so very like me and my friends.
Mm.
And as the poem went on, and as the summer went on, the realization of all these other things that are happening was like almost overwhelming to one, us, and two, the poem. So at the end, it was like all this other stuff that was coming out.
Can I ask you what you mean by that? Overwhelming to the poem?
It was, so I had like a main theme, like me and my friends at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then it was overtaken by the events that I experienced and what I was just seeing. So the theme just switched.
Okay, cool. Okay, so the event sort of translated into a mood. I dig in that. That reminds me of that feedback loop I was talking about Monday between literal events and how we feel about them, or like the abstract and the literal. There's like this weird feedback loop between the abstract and the literal that's always happening, right? I dig that. Thank you. Somebody else, talk to me. Artem.
I just like extended metaphors of literary madness. You know how people in books don't actually go mad; they go like cool mad, where they
Yes, I do.
or like pick flowers and then do metaphors that the audience only realizes in Act 3. So yeah, I did metaphor. I don't know. I keep bringing up Shakespeare because I'm annoying. So
Do you find Shakespeare annoying?
well, other people do, and that's all that matters, right? Anyway.
I'm not going to fight you on that one right now.
King Lear and Hamlet, they both go crazy, right?
Right.
They have, and I included quotes from them, or whatever, because the whole, like, the madness thing is also a bigger part of ignoring impending doom, because it goes last spring. So.
Okay, I dig. And in a way, that makes a lot of sense to me. Like, when you hit upon a mood, in your own mind, you can pretty much guarantee that some other writer has gone there before. You know what I mean? And so you can use those references, those real references to the abstract thing you're thinking about, to draw on and sort of deepen and enlarge in your own connection to whatever that mood thing is. Really cool. All right, thank you. We're pretty much at time, so I'm inclined to let you go. Are there any questions right now before I get out of here? John?
The poems that we're going to do for the collection, are these poems, or are we doing a separate like?
So the intention here is for you to at least have a decent start. So if these end up being some of your assigned works, awesome. It's not my intention for you to just like copy down your notebook poems verbatim and then submit them. But we'll talk about that more as we get close. Is that fair? All right, get out of here. I will see you guys on Monday.